All right. Well, I'm not quite on time, or I'm a little early, depending on what time frame it said. And perfect timing. The sky had just opened up and was pouring rain. I don't think anyone would have been able to hear me. And it says I'm live. So let's see. Not sure I did everything right here yet. No, I'm still not sure. The voice says it's working. Let's see. Can you hear me now? Operator error, I believe, is what we have here. Let me see if I can refresh this chat. Okay. Thanks, Cliff. I wasn't sure. I could not get a clear hit on that, but yeah. Aloha. Good morning. It's still technically morning here for a few minutes, and I know it's later for all of you guys out there, but hope you're all doing well on this Sunday. Aloha, Shannon. All right, good. Okay. Yeah, I was having a little bit of a operator error here. I tried a few times, and hey, Edwin out there in Puerto Rico. Wow. Thanks for stopping by. So how's everybody doing? Everybody good? We're good out here, and it's perfect. Now the sun's starting to peek through. Just a few minutes ago when I was going to go live, I mean, the sky opened up and it was so loud. I doubt anyone would have heard me under this tin roof up here. It's like being in a snare drum when the rain's really coming down hard. 10 till 5 in Missouri. Yeah, I know I have a hard time keeping track of everybody's time zones. I should try and start this earlier. I believe, YouTube tells me when the majority of people that watch this channel are watching, and we're coming kind of to the tail end of that in time, uh, from like 6 o'clock in the morning here till about noon. That's like the peak viewing time, my time on the channel, but uh, I don't always get everything accomplished by noon. So everyone's solar systems are up and running and doing good. They are here, that's for sure. Hey, Dave. How were the drag races? I haven't been to a drag race since I was a teenager, I think. Always had some fun doing that. They're loud. I can hear the drag races uh, sitting right here when they're going off down in Hilo. There's a little racetrack down there, and you can hear them and it's probably about 15 miles, give or take, from here, and I can hear that sound a little bit. Hey, Rick, aloha out there. How's all your stuff working? I know Rick's a Victron guy. I've got all of my stuff up and running good. I had a little bit of a problem with that 48 volt system, but I mean, it's working just fine now. I had to reset that tail current or disable the tail current. I didn't catch it on one of my previous videos that I had it set for 1.8 amps, and it was making it only hold absorption for, just a few minutes when I was shooting for a 2-hour target, and then I disabled it, and it's been working perfectly ever since, and the whole system's working perfectly. So, yeah, I keep learning about that kind of a thing. I've never been, uh, fully grasping the whole tail current aspect, so I just leave all of my systems disabled on the tail current, and then I get up to full absorption every day, and that seems to be working just fine on all the systems. Not one system is giving me problems right now. So yeah, I'm getting good weather here today. I mean, I'm getting all my solar systems are up to a nice charge, even though the sun is not really peeking through, and I'm catching water at the same time. I moved a few hundred gallons from one tank to the other a couple of days ago to make room for supposedly we'd catch a little rain today, and we are. So I made room in one tank and topped off another, so that was good. Hey Gary, welcome. Welcome. So yeah, you guys can share whatever you guys want to share is what's going on with your systems. If you have any kind of questions of a, you know, videos where I have not uh, made it extremely clear, which is often the case, feel free to ask me anything and I'll try to answer that as well. Yeah, so Dave saying, yeah, the solar on his van kept his 12-volt freezer going all weekend. Nice. And where are you located, Dave? Trying to get an idea from what part of the world you all are in, and I'll try to remember that. Mosquitoes are out this morning too. They like it when it's raining like this. Ontario, Canada. All right, Gary, up there running a master chef, 220 kilowatt hours a day, mini fridge on solar since April. Nice. And the sun's already starting to head down up there that far north. I remember those days of being up in Colorado. And yeah, in August, I actually had to start working my wood stove a little bit in August for heat. So the sun dips down and things change. And Tim's using an EcoFlow Delta 2 and River 2, working good for him, mostly good. Good. Yeah, I just love seeing that all you guys are using some kind of supplement power, especially with solar. That's working good. I have still not used my generator at all. Haven't needed it, eh, not even for a second, for so long now, because I've got my solar systems built up pretty well for this environment here. And I'm thrilled about that, really thrilled about that. I will always keep that little generator as a complete backup, or it's portable as well. So for that reason too. But boy, I sure like not having to haul gasoline and deal with gasoline anymore. Yeah, Kathleen, uh, I still miss those old mountains, that's for sure. I had a great time living back in the Rockies. A little more work involved dealing with the winters and the snow and stuff like that, but and I've become accustomed to warmer weather, that's for sure. What's Gary saying here? Ran the I 900 watt inverter Jenny 2 days ago for the first time in 3 months. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, I weaned myself off the gasoline. It took me a while to get my solar systems all the way up to where I needed to be, to where I did not have to rely on gasoline out here. We can get some stretches of very, very dark days out here, and even like right now, I mean, you can kind of tell that it is light back in there. The sun is not directly shining down, but with extra solar panels on my arrays, I'm getting up to full charges where, before I had extra solar panels on my arrays, I could struggle getting up to a full charge, but I'm not now. Of course, that's always subject to change. I mean, winter is not here yet, and it can get really dark and rainy. So, but I've been doing good. I did good last winter as well. Didn't use the generator, and that's the big thing out here, is to not be using that generator. And I like hearing about what all you guys are running. A lot of times I'm not familiar with some of these systems you guys are talking about, but that's why I like for you guys to let everyone know what you're running and what's working really well for you, and we can all share that information, read each other's comments, and help each other out. I've been gravitating, as you guys know, for the past couple of years towards the Victron stuff. I just like that so much because it's user friendly. Um, just a few clicks on your devices and you can have it all set properly. And I kind of like that. I don't have to work at it too hard. And then the older I get, I like things like that. I don't want to be bogged down uh, with my system too much. Yeah, Tim's asking me, and he's in the Philippines, and welcome, Tim. And what time is it in the Philippines, and what day is it? Uh, and do I ever wish I went with one big central system? And no, I don't. That's been suggested to me a lot of times. I really like having the way I've kind of built up zones in my house with different systems. And a lot of that came about because of this channel. Battery companies would send me batteries out for reviews, and I would build little systems and fit that into the way I live out here. Um, so a lot of times, because I was getting different size batteries and things like that, I could have tied them all into a hodgepodge for one huge system, but I really enjoyed building smaller systems to show you guys how a smaller system can work as well. And now that I have it like that, I've I've cut my house into about 3 different zones. One zone, one system running one side of the house and everything on that side of the house, another system for the center part and everything like that, and then one for, another section of the house. And I really do like that because it gives me the redundancy of, if anything fails, I'm not going to miss a beat. I can switch things over and keep everything going year round without having to use that generator. So that, now that I have built it that way, that would not have been my original plan. I mean, I always, in the past 30 years, just built one system to run everything, and I did fine with that. And a few times along the way, something might fail, or I took a lightning strike, which has happened to me, and went offline and for a day or two until I could get some new pieces. But I like having the extra pieces around and the extra little systems, and it's helped me to learn a lot about what I can get away with. So yeah, I don't regret uh, having zones to run solar at all. Um, I have some friends out here that have massive centralized systems, and of course they do just fine with that too. 6 a.m. on Monday in the Philippines. Okay. I figured you guys were just the next day ahead of us, but I wasn't quite sure how far. And Teresa says she's working on a hodgepodge of stuff, and that's okay. That's kind of how I started. I mean, when I very first went to solar 30 years ago, it was one 50-watt solar panel and one deep cycle 12-volt lead acid battery, and I couldn't have been happier with that. That got me my first taste of what solar could do, and it's just been growing ever since. But yeah, I just did what I could afford at the time, learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes, but at that time, I was so happy that I could, start to use solar for things I was using petroleum products for. So that's been a gradual thing as well for me. So yeah, you can't always jump in and get everything you want in one fell swoop because it is an expenditure, right? Yeah, Gary, that EP ever right I can do right there above my head. This is right there. Uh, I've had that out here running for years. It is actually still tied into and charging a couple of old Trojan lead acid batteries that I just keep them hooked up. They're getting quite old. I don't use them a lot. I've got a little charging station sitting out here next to me. I can be sitting here and charging devices and whatnot, just a real small little 150-watt inverter. And when they completely die, I will go ahead and slip a lithium in there as well. It's just to have a little power out here on the lanai, which I have other power out here tied into the main house and outlets out here as well. But I built this years ago. This system sitting right behind me, I built it many years ago, and I just have left it up and running. It's only got a 150-watt solar panel tied to it with a 300 amp hour bank, two 250 amp hour Trojans tied in parallel for 300 amp hour lead acid. And it's the very last lead acid I've got going on out here. And I'm just going to let them run till they don't. And Trojan back in the day used to be, the battery, like the Cadillac of lead acid. And they were, what we used because they were the best back then. And they were, heavy and expensive. And yeah, so gee, yeah, have I ever noticed any major difference between MPPT and pulse width modulation charge controllers? Yeah, I really have noticed a huge difference, and especially with the Victrons and even the EP Evers. I did the EP Evers were the very first MPPT charge controllers I went with. They made all the difference of getting the lithium up to the charge I wanted to compared to the old PWM uh, charge controllers, which I have used for the majority of my time off grid were the old PWMs, right? It wasn't until I switched over to lithium that I, you know, started educating myself that the MPPTs were better. And the main thing out here is like using Victron as an example, that MPPT tracks so fast, and I have extremely fast moving conditions out here. Like right now, I can see blue sky out here, and the sun is starting to peek through a little bit. And in, you know, 10 seconds, that can all change because, we have trade winds out here and they're blowing offshore stuff across the island constantly. So, and if you watch the MPPT, I mean, like right now it might be showing 500 watts coming in off of an array. And the second that changes, it's just bouncing all over extremely, extremely fast. And it's just always trying to pump up the battery, uh, keep the power coming in at its maximum capacity, where the pulse width modulation didn't do that at all. I mean, you had to keep it in good sunshine. I mean, the pulse width modulation charge controllers now are very, very cheap. And they worked. I mean, I did fine on them for sure, but there is a huge difference. So, yeah, but for people that can't afford, that kind of stuff, PWM works. It absolutely works. I was in the Rockies, and that's all I ever used up there because pure sine wave inverters were coming online at a certain point when I was back there, but they were just out of sight price-wise when they first came out. I mean, out of sight. So I bought an old Xantrex 2500 watt, 12 volt inverter, and that was top of the line for that for pulse width modulation controllers, and that thing was a beast, and it worked just fine, absolutely just fine. And I wasn't tracking, as fast as you can now with these devices. This was before the internet and Bluetooth devices and things like that. Uh, and Gary says, he's got some Trojans being fed by a tracer, and that's what I had, tracers, Antrex, and they all change names a little bit here and there. Yeah, and I bought those, Gary. I bought those um, Trojans right at the very breakout of the pandemic, and the reason I jumped on them right then, I still hadn't done all my research on lithium. I was starting to think lithium, uh, and some of the suppliers out here. There's a pretty good battery store out here. And I went down there and he said, batteries were starting to fly off the shelves with the rumblings of the pandemic and, a lot of people off grid. And we're starting to stack up some better quality batteries. I had some batteries kind of going south at that time anyway. And I got a good deal on a couple of Trojans. And then as soon as I bought those, I started gravitating towards lithium over the past years. But yeah, the Trojans, for lead acid, but now I can barely move one. I haven't gotten stronger over the years, and those things are backbreakers to move around, where lithium I can still pick up with one hand and move around. And the good thing for all of us is that the lithium has really dropped in price. Yeah. Those T105s were workhorses for sure. I've had a bank of T105s before. My last big bank in the mountains were the L16s, and then those were real backbreakers, but you know, they could hold some power. I got I got 8 years off of my last Trojan bank, 8 solid years of working them very, very hard, and then I took a, and they were still doing fine, but then I took a direct hit on my cabin with lightning, and they suffered some damage and never came back all the way from that. So Teresa's asking, as most of this stuff is made in China, questions the quality of any product. I'm not running into any problems with that at all. I mean, I've had a couple failures out here of things that I've, documented and told you guys about, but yeah, most of the stuff that I'm using is, made in China. The batteries are certainly all made in China. Every battery that I have of lithium are from China, and I'm not having any battery problems whatsoever. Most of the inverters I am using um, are working just fine. They really are. So I'm not having any problem with the fact that they're coming from China. I'm just not. In fact, I could just rave about most of them. They're doing quite well. And let's see, where's Victron? Victron's in the Netherlands, right? And they're of course uh, great charge controllers from there too. A little bit of a premium attached to those, but for good reason. Yeah, I'm not having any problem, Gary, with the Chinese stuff. Yeah, I find the Victron stuff just very, very convenient. I mean, I just like it. Super user friendly. I'm not the most tech savvy guy, so they make it easy on me for that reason too. And I've been asked that a lot, Jay, about who is my favorite Chinese supplier, and I haven't been asked that a lot, and I don't say that any single one of them is my favorite. I've had very, very good experience with all of them. I mean, all of the batteries, whether they my first lithium batteries were the Chins that I bought. They're still doing great, and, what used to be Ampere Time and is now Li Time, they're great batteries, and, I've got what else? Some Time USB, they're fine. Red Odo, they're great batteries. Power Queen, they're all really, really good. Yeah, every single one of them is working just fantastically, and I'm, a few years into them now, and no problems. And from all the feedback I get from you guys, if there is a problem, all of those companies are backing their product. And, if it's a production problem or an error on their side, they're very quick to honor that warranty, is pretty much the feedback I get from everybody. If I ever hear differently, I'll let you guys know. Yeah. And I think largely that you're right, Gary, that they're all coming from, I mean, every one of those brands that I'm telling you about comes from the same place. It says it on the box that, when they come here, they all say, the exact same province in China. Um, they all look the same when we tear them open. By and large, they're all looking exactly the same. And I really don't know how it works over there. If it's just one big factory put cranking out all of these batteries and putting a different sticker and a different colored case on them, I really don't know. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people saying that they believe that's the case. I don't know at all, but they all work and they all work well, and the price keeps coming down. And some of them now have a few years of, reliability under their belt, and it seems to be working for everybody. Yeah, you're welcome, Teresa. Yeah, I've not had any problem. And believe me, I mean, I would be jumping on here, and I do every time there's a failure, and whether it's my fault or, something that I can't explain, whether I think it's the manufacturing of a particular unit. I mean, I did have that one reliable uh, from Reliable Electrics, which I do run at several of their inverters, and I did have that 24-volt one fail me one time. It just didn't click on. I have no idea why. I never tore it apart because I wouldn't really know what to check for anyway. And I shared that information with you, but all the others are working really good, and they're on 24/7 and have been, some of them, for years. Never turn them off, and they're doing good. They meet the loads like they're supposed to. But I also have been gravitating towards the Victron inverters as well as time goes by, and I do like those quite a bit. I don't know, Jay, what the best source for solar panels in bulk is at all. Um, there's a lot of solar panels on the market out there, and I see a lot out here now where you can buy a pallet for pretty cheap. If you're buying, a bulk amount, pretty cheap now. Solar panels have really come down in price compared to the old days, that's for sure. Yeah, those reliable inverters have been pretty good. I mean, let's see, I've got one, two, three of them running right now. They are on and running right now. And then I've got also uh, one, two, three Victrons up and running right now as well in different places. Hey, good morning, Glenn from Western Australia. I think you're a day ahead of us too, aren't you? Got to be Monday morning there. Well, gee, out of all the batteries I've tried, I think that the cheapest that I can remember were some of those kind of off-brand names or no-name brands or brands that we are not as familiar with as some of those others I've mentioned, like Red Odo, Power Queen, Lee Time, Chins. Those have been around long enough to have established a name that we all recognize. Some of those others that have been sent out for review were the cheapest. What were those ones that they were? The first ones that I reviewed that had gotten under $200. And now, when I look online and I see how many of at least the 100 amp hour size are under $200, now it's quite a bit. So they're starting to stay under that. And then some of the more recognized names are still staying a little over that. But um, what was that name of that one? Now, there has been a few that were names I had never seen before I reviewed them. They all held up to their specifications and still are, but they were, much cheaper. Um, and I have been offered, I mentioned this in a video the other day, that I have been offered probably 25 uh, new batteries to review. And I tell them, yeah, send them out to me. And then they find I'm out in Hawaii and they won't send them to me right now for, I assume, shipping costs. They don't want to pay the shipping cost. But yeah, they and not a single name that I recognize. So there's constantly new ones coming on the market, constantly. And they're all still coming from the same place in China, but just whether they're just rebranded or whatever, I don't know. But and most of those now are under $200, and some of them well under $200. And I can't keep up with all the names that are coming. I get emails, several a week of, "Hey, would you review this battery?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I will," but I'm in Hawaii. I've always believed that to be true, Gary. And what Gary's saying is that, he's researched the Chins, Power Queen, Red Odo, Ampere Time, Lee Time, and they all have the same Chinese manufacturer using various different marketing companies. That's what's always kind of been my, you know, belief about the situation. I've even tried to ask some of them directly in back and forth correspondence and coordination with, talking about one of their batteries on YouTube. And I really believe that what you say is true, Gary, but I've just never got the confirmation from any of them. They kind of ignore when I question, are you all just, one big factory just flooding the market with all these batteries just under different names and seeing which colored case resonates better in certain geographic areas? I don't know if it's something like that. I mean, it seems like it could be. So Kathleen's asking, oh, I'm glad the channel helps you a lot. That's for sure. That's what I try to do, is just try to just tell you guys how I'm living out here and see if it resonates with anything that you're doing or thinking about doing. And what's one of my favorite things about living in Hawaii? Um, and how am I doing after my skin cancer removal? Well, so the things that I love about Hawaii are, of course, the constant pleasant temperature. I'm not having to shovel my way out or in anywhere anymore, that I'm not dealing with snow and cold temperatures. Yeah, the skin cancer with me continues and will probably always be an issue. I've got, severely sun damaged skin from a lifetime of playing in the sun unprotected for too long. So, yeah, I wish they'd come up with a different way of treating it than cutting it out, but that still seems to be the go-to for cutting it out. But yeah, I've recovered. I've recovered well since my last go around, and I'll have many more go rounds. So Yeah, Teresa, the batteries, they're kind of the heart of your system. So you want to have good ones, and there are just a ton to choose from out there. I'm not seeing anything that I would call like pure junk out there at all. And the people on YouTube, I mean, we're tearing them apart. I'm not really a great tear down guy, but there's plenty of other guys that are going to tear them apart and show you exactly what you're looking at. If you're starting to zero in on one product or the other, you can give it a peek and see what you think. I do like a lot of the ones that have been around more and more. They've stepped up their quality control a little bit, and now that they've done that, they got to keep up with that. And I have seen on some of the brand new ones a couple of times they try and send some out there that aren't quite making the cut, and they get called on that quite a bit. And they usually change that pretty quick too, because we're all talking to each other and saying, "Hey, look at this. This is not right." That's the greatest thing about these channels and you guys and us as the consumers is you're going to come in and comment and say, hey, this is what happened with me. Yeah, there's so many of these batteries on the market now. I cannot keep up with them, and I'll keep trying to get some more out here, but for whatever reason, it's and I don't know if now they just have, they have plenty of distribution points over on the mainland of the United States. And I guess once they're there, they just want to use, free shipping and, as part of their advertising costs. And, they're not shipping them out to here for free. Nothing ships out to here for free except Amazon. Yeah, well, Gary, you must be getting up there in age too. It seems like a lot of us older guys are, skin cancer is a real thing. Yeah, of course. Jay Will Prowse is, one of the originals out there talking about this stuff, and he understands it better than most. That's for sure. Yeah, I've watched a few documentaries on, when I caught my first skin cancer. I read up on everything. And I was like, oh no, geez, got to deal with that now. I'm gonna try and remember that name. I'm gonna. Well, it's in the chat, so I'll come back. Fat, sick, and nearly dead. I like that title. Yeah, I mean, I mean, I've had about every kind of skin cancer there is, and for me, the most concerning is always that darn melanoma. Because you got to get rid of that. That's not anything you can ignore, and, and they just cut you so generously to get margins around that thing. Uh, so it's like, okay, glad to have caught it, but now the treatment for it can be a little rough. Can about wear a guy out. I've been kind of dragging my butt around for a couple of weeks. I've shoulder back here healing up, but it feels pretty good now. I couldn't do this a few days ago, but now I can. So, and what do you mean, gee, send some of those guys your way, like the battery people? Is that what you're referring to? I have done that in the past. I have, and for things that I don't want to, review on the channel, I get so many asks about so many different products. Oh wow, show this on your, and most of it is not really content relevant for what we're talking about here. The overwhelming majority of it, but I have referred some of them to people that I know that would be interested in those type of things. Yeah, I ask. uh, various doctors over the years about that type of thing. Is there, because there are different things to help stop the spread of melanoma, but um, you know, they're still mostly leaning on if it can be reached with a knife. Let's keep doing that. But um, I keep my options open on that, and I keep talking to people that are, and keep uh, expanding the people that I'm talking to about that type of thing too, because I do want a different method for keeping it in check. I don't know. Gee, what are you way behind on? I'm way behind on a lot of things. I mean, a lot of things. I'm way behind on so many things, and I always look out and think, man, I got to do this and that and this and that, and then the day slips away. Always. It's true what they say. The older you get, faster time goes. All right, guys. Remind me again. Where's everybody from? Let's see. Reiterate so I can remember. I'll forget half of this, but let's see where everybody is at. Okay, there, Chad, Kentucky. Yeah, Germany. Good. Man, we're reaching around the world. Yeah. Canada, Big Island. Hey, I'm on the Big Island too. T, Zyme. Tease me. Well, I get it. Tease me. Okay. Uh, Philippines, Illinois, Western Australia. We're covering a lot of territory. That's great, and different days and time zones for sure. Well, Gordon, after a night of use, I never want to be below 25% as a rule, and I'm not. And of course, this time of the year, I'm not even getting below 50%, but the days are still a little bit longer, and it's been pretty good weather and stuff like that. And in the winter, that could go down. And then also, as the days get shorter, and they don't really change that drastically out here compared to other hemispheres, but as a general rule, I with the lithium batteries, I don't want to go down in my overnight cycle below 25%. If I can kind of work in that 20 to 80% range, I'm really, really happy. Right now, I wake up in the mornings and all my systems they haven't even gone even close to below 50%, but that'll change here in the next few months. And that's different from the old lead acid days. And with lead acid, you never really wanted to be dropping down 50% because then you started with degradation. But lithium can take a little more serious drawdown without any kind of degradation. So, and lithium's just real happy to be working with that 20% to 80%. It loves that. But right now, I'm basically getting up to about 100% every day on all systems. And, I wake up in the morning and most systems are like 60, even 70 some percent. Ohio, but have a off grid in West Virginia. That's cool. I haven't been back in that part of the country in so many years. Idaho. Yeah, brush bum, Idaho. Welcome. I love Idaho. Some of the best fly fishing I ever did was up there in that Ketchum area. Another one in Western Australia. Texas. Yeah, haven't been in Texas for a while either. I haven't been back to the mainland in many, many years. And 13.8 float you went to, huh, Gary? 13.8 float. He backed the boost and absorption down from 14.1 to, and from 14.2, and it's all good. Yeah, I think that's good too. I've played around with that too. Right now, I just leave everything kind of on the preset. I let it go up to 14.2, um, but I've knocked it down before, um, and it was just fine. And I've got all my stuff on the 12-volt stuff. I just leave my float at 13.5. By the time it gets to be the end of the day, I mean, it holds it in absorption, goes to float, and I want it to start winding down and start drawing power off of it anyway. So I don't, but 13.8, I believe, is what most of the batteries actually recommend, in their manuals. It's something like that. But I just go with the Victron preset on most of them nowadays, and I've been doing just really, really good. Okay. Yeah, and I've showed you guys how I've tinkered around with those settings and got feedback from everybody that knows a lot more than I do about that kind of stuff too. But that's again why I have to say, I love the Victron stuff. I could now build a little system so quick. I mean, I could run up to the shop and just build a super quick system and just bang bang, you know, plug in just the presets on the lithium iron phosphate presets on the Victron charge controllers, and it's just like you're done. And I just leave them. The in fact, the one that I've got up in the shop right now, I mean, it's almost completely full, and I haven't been up there in a couple days to even look at anything. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Gary. I never quite know on any video. I mean, I get an idea about, oh, this will be really, really interesting, and sometimes it's just not, right? But so I just make the videos as I get inspired and think about things or something I can't understand and I need a little help. And I just make them without truly knowing if any of it's going to resonate or what piece of that video might resonate with somebody, or they go, oh, that exact same thing happened. And that seems to work pretty good because a lot of times what I think the message will be in any given video, it's like it turns out to be something else. People will point out like where I erred or what is happening on their system along the same way. So I really enjoy the back and forth that we do on this channel because it helps me a great deal, and then I keep getting the feedback that is helping you guys too, and that's always the uh, the goal is hopefully something in every video I put out there somebody can go, hey, that was what I was looking for. I truly never really know unless one of you says, "Hey, we need a video on this or that," and then if I can do it, I'll try to do that too. But hey, you guys have helped me big time. I mean, you're all helping me too every time. Every time I put a video out, I mean, I read every single comment. I always have, and I make a lot of changes according to what you guys are saying too. Absolutely, there's a lot of people that really, really know their stuff watching this channel, and they're very generous with their time and knowledge about sharing that with everybody. You know what, Teresa? I've been just slowly shifting gears a little bit, and I think I'm going to try and do like just a weekly, just like this, just pop in and you know what's on your mind. Let's talk about whatever. Open forum, just as a different way of connecting with you guys. I mean, I try to answer as many comments that I get, with you guys as possible. I am always trying to spend a certain amount of time answering comments. I prefer this format because it feels like I'm in more of a real conversation with you guys, but so we can it's easier for me to read and then just get back to you on live. So I kind of want to do that a little bit more often. I have had no set agenda on doing live streams. I've only done a few live streams ever. Um, but I would like to kind of, you know, use this platform a little bit more to just have conversations with you, and because I can, it's more like talking to you this way. I can read your comments, answer you directly. You can elaborate. I can elaborate, and boy, can I elaborate. So, so yeah, I'm thinking and today was just kind of like, okay, I got up and I'm like, yeah, I do want to start doing that. So I just said, well, I'll just start today. And so I'm thinking maybe like a Sunday morning, I might try and get in here a little earlier and just pop in for, you know, a few minutes every Sunday morning, something we could all get together, share our experiences, talk about what's going on in your part of the world. That's kind of cool too. Like, old ham radio days. Like, yeah, hey, the weather's good here right now, and it is. The weather's nice. Solar's charging up, but I like that where we can check in and see like how are things in your neck of the woods. Especially with like I've got people that have been kind of in harm's way with fires and things like that, and it's like they chime in and let me know, hey, they're good. I like knowing because we all pay attention to what's going on around the world, and we have friends in some of those areas, and we say, hey, what's going on over there, let us know. uh, Thanks, Dave. I really do like connecting with you guys and just sharing my thoughts and seeing where it lands, and if we can't just stir up a conversation about anything, I'm really open to talking about anything. Yes, I will start putting a notification. I don't know how that came across today. It wasn't until I saw G and I think Ed in here saying hi to me. I didn't even know that this live stream had made it to where anyone was aware that I was going to be putting it out there. I was having a few operator error technical glitches going on, and I finally got it figured out because I just don't do that often to where it was a little confusing on setting that up. But yeah, I will start to put out, you know, the day ahead of time or the night ahead of time that I will be coming on live. But I'm thinking, yeah, like a Sunday thing. A lot of people are sitting around on a Sunday. We can stir up some conversations. Oh, yeah, that's funny, Gary. Yeah, no, he would bury me. I'm when if I was still that young and yeah, I might just for fun, but yeah, I'm living the dream out here. It's pretty nice, pretty easy living. Hey, well, don't be shy, Teresa. Keep coming back. There's a lot of good people in here. And the more and more you keep coming back and watching these videos and reading the chats, a lot of these guys have been around for years. We all feel like we know each other. We've all got each other's backs on all this solar stuff and equipment that we're using and the tricks of the trade and little, you know, other things we can do to adjust our systems. Still making me laugh on that, Gary. Yeah, no. I'm too old. I'd get buried. Uh, yeah, I wouldn't want to go down that rabbit hole but for fun I would. Yeah, for fun. If I knew the guy, for fun. Hey, like, but he knows more in his little finger than I'm ever gonna know. And that's just a fact. Okay, so Dave's asking me, let's see, how long do typical solar setups like the one you have on my property lasts? Well, I I don't know. I'm there. I can see no reason why they just wouldn't last for many, many, many years. Uh, and I can just go back to my experience on solar systems because I've been doing them for 30 years now. When I was in the mountains of Colorado, I mean, it's kind of hard to say exactly then too, because I was always kind of upgrading and expanding and everything. But I never had system failure on anything. I mean, other than the lead acid batteries would wear out and within 8 years or so typically. And I always took very good care of my Trojans. But I could get 8, and I even squeezed almost 10 years out. Um, and like I said, if it wasn't for lightning, I would have done okay. But all the components lasted really well, and all the components that I'm using out here, I mean, I'm hearing things like lithium batteries treated well. I mean, it's not unrealistic to think you're going to get 20 years. None of my batteries show the lick of use on them, and they're some of them are 3 years old, or right at 3 years old now. Where I could always tell my lead acids might be slowing down after a few years, still doing fine, but maybe slowing down. But all these components that I'm using now, I think they're going to outlive me. To tell you the truth, Dave, I do. I think they're going to outlive me. And I hear of even like longer. I mean, I hear that it could even be longer. Yeah, I've been teased me, says he's been hit by lightning in both of his houses, as have I. I have taken a direct hit here many years ago. I took a direct hit here, and I did lose some components with that. And I went around and unplugged everything. I mean, I unplugged everything, and a lot of times just moved them away from everything. And I did the same thing in the mountains when I took a direct hit. I mean, I could see the storm coming, and I knew I was going to get hit. I'd never seen so much lightning raining down from the sky, and I could just watch it rolling up the hill. And I thought, as much as is out there, there's no way I'm not going to get hit. And I no sooner had that thought, and I got hit, and it sounded like a bomb going off in the place. And and I had unplugged everything, seeing the storm coming my way, and the stuff that had unplugged got fried. You know. So anything electronic almost got fried, and I had the same experience here. I could hear it coming off the ocean, and it sounded like we were in a war zone. And I'm like, oh no, here comes that lightning, my least favorite kind of weather. And I quickly, as I could tell it was getting closer and closer, went around, unplugged everything here, and same thing, kaboom, direct hit. It connected with this, I believe. I can't even show you now, but I was going to turn this around to show you, but I believe it made contact with my container, and then it went straight down to the ground. It ran through the ground, pulverizing the lava ground about 8 to 9 inches deep, and threw all that rock on the roof. And I lost some equipment on that one too, that wasn't even plugged in. And yeah, garden is on the list there, Kathleen. That's the garden is coming. Um, I just haven't had the time or the energy lately to be jumping into that, but yeah, that's definitely on the to-do list. Yeah, what is my source of inspiration, Dave? It's I, my number one source of inspiration is to live in complete harmony with the environment. And that's been my inspiration for a very, very long time. And even when I was living in the city, I kept trying to find ways of how I could do that. How can I just live exactly in harmony with the environment. Yes, and I meditated on that quite a bit, quite a bit. And that's what I still want to do, is to tread lightly on the environment and try. In both places I've lived, just as just one example, I I didn't come in and bulldoze any place down and do a lot of the things that I see people do to their properties. I didn't take a tree down. I made my path to go in between the trees and everything. I just, I didn't want to, I didn't want my uh, dream to have a huge impact on the environment. And my dream is always to live in more of the natural world. And I wanted to tread lightly on that. And I still do. Try not to do too much to change that. But, you know, I've got the experiences of things where, I mean, I knew just by being there, I was making an impact on the environment. Back up in the high country, some of the things I was doing to live in harmony, I thought was living in harmony, disrupted some of the harmony that existed there long before I showed up. Like, I started raising chickens and doing that for, I thought was a great thing to do for sustainability, and it was, and a food production source, and it was. But, you know, um, the other critters in the forest took notice, and, you know, it altered what was natural for them, and they started coming in and spanking me over it. Bears, coyotes, all that kind of stuff. So, it's hard to not have an impact on the environment you live in. But I try to be conscious about that as much as I can and try not to. But I don't know if you can go anywhere, and just if you're there, you've made a little bit of an impact. Well, we're in hurricane season here, and so far it's been quiet out there in the Eastern Pacific, and I'm hoping it stays that way. Well, guys, it's been about an hour, and I probably talked you guys to death, but I've enjoyed the conversation with all of you. Got to meet some new faces. Hope to see some of you around more, and we'll do this again. And I will give you a little more heads up. This was just kind of a spur of the moment, and it took me a minute to get online, but I finally made it. But yeah, let's do it again. And yes, I'll see you guys in the chat some too on the videos, and we'll stay in touch. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this. Thanks, Teresa. Yeah. And Kathleen and Shannon out there. Uh, be prepared be prepared, have a few extra essentials on hand if that hurricane starts to knock on your door. Yeah. Nice to sit with you too, Dave. And nice to sit with all of you and have a good conversation. I enjoyed that, and we'll do it again. So have a great rest of your day, evening, everything. And I'll say aloha to you all, and I'll catch you on the next time. But yeah, we'll do this more often. I enjoy that a lot. Now, if I can figure out how to turn this off. Aloha, everybody, for sure. Yeah. I consider you all friends. Okay. Ta-ta for now.